Now, with the shot, there is a little complication called technique. And technique plays a vital role in helping to transfer the power shot so that it can fly. And upon going to Panam and seeing the start list, the start list lists your season best and your personal best. And I saw guys throwing 68. And then that is when I became utterly hungry to be a part of the elite, the world's elite. But right now, the focus is improving on the top secret distances in training and hopefully, have a big show.
Welcome, Sports Nation, to Sports DTM, the sports channel where we call sports down the middle. You can expect the latest in sports news, views, and reviews from our resident analysts. No sports topic is too controversial, and no team or player is above criticism. So just smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on our balanced offering of riveting sports content. And don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Welcome to Sports DTM.
Greetings, Sports DTM fans, and welcome to another episode of Sports Down the Middle, the channel of undiluted sports content. We have in studio a very special guest, national record holder at 21.96 in the Shotput and the first Jamaican to have won a medal at the World Championship, Mr. Odayne Richards. But before we go into the details, we see that you've been watching and liking our videos, and we want to thank you. We also want you to become a part of the Sports DTM family by clicking the subscribe button below. If your subscribe button is red, it simply means that you have not yet subscribed, so just click on that button. And welcome to the Sports DTM family. Mr. Richards, welcome to Sports DTM Virtual Studio, sir.
Thanks for having me.
That's great. We just want to go straight into it. Tell us a little about yourself, where you're born, which school you go, and so on.
Okay, so I was born here in Jamaica. I attended first Vass Prep and then St. George's College. I studied data communication at the University of Technology. I'm an avid lover of sports. Played football, rugby, competitively. And outside of that, I like art, music.
Yeah, you mentioned avid love of sports. So which football team you follow, which cricket team you support, rugby, tennis, and so on?
Okay, so for football, I recently started watching the English Premier League, and I'm a fan of Manchester City, which happens to be the same color as St. George's College. So there's a correlation there. Cricket, obviously, it would be West Indies. I'm patriotic. However, we're not doing so well now. For rugby, the All Blacks, I really like the haka, and they were role models per se for my team. For basketball, I like Golden State for the sake of Steph Curry, and the Splash Brothers.
You just start watch basketball too.
Yeah, as in my brother is an avid lover of basketball, and just to try and have some camaraderie with him, I decided to pick a team. And obviously they pick the team that's good.
Naturally.
Naturally. You mentioned that you went to George's, and George's is known for football, but why join?
Well, I initially started to play football for them because I played football for Haberview, and I thought it would have been an easy transition, but the team for me was a little bit difficult to make, and I wanted to play a different position than I was playing for the club. So obviously I didn't do well enough to get selected. So
what position were you playing before?
Well, I started off in the goal, and I wanted to play stopper, sweeper, because that's what my dad did. And my dad, to me, is a legend. I always keep hearing stories when I was growing up from himself and other people in and around the community. So, naturally, I thought, I wanted to see if I could fill those shoes.
Okay.
How was the transition from football to throwing? Were you a natural, or Was
Well,
it difficult?
actually, I had no real idea of throwing while I was doing football or rugby. I actually went from football to rugby. Some of the guys in my class had been playing the sport for quite some time. You know, there was a negative connotation associated with rugby players, and they said, you know, let's give it a try. Gave it a try. I liked it. Did pretty well at it. And then it was my physics teacher now who wanted to explain some physics principles with me and invited me out. He was a former thrower as well. I think he was at the time, and I keep saying this in every interview that I do, because I like to give homage to predecessors. At the time, he was the seventh farthest discus thrower Jamaica had, you know, and his name is Dr. Odayne Henselwood. He threw for Georges, and he did very well.
Him trick you into throwing.
No, I wouldn't say it's a trick. You know, he invited me out. It was nothing forced. And, you know, I took to it, or it took to me.
I know you do both discus and shot put, and it appears as if you prefer shot put. Why?
Well, actually, my preference, if I were to rank them, would have been discus and then shot put. However, I started to perform much better in the shot than I did the disc. So the sport, it really and truly selected me rather than I selected the sport.
So I think that was
Okay.
the case. Well, I think that was the case because you were putting more effort into shot put.
No. I'd say I'd put more effort in the disc.
Yes. Okay.
However, after reaching a certain distance, it became increasingly difficult to progress. I'm 5'9" or thereabout. If I tell people I'm tall, they argue with me. So I tell people I'm 5'9". And for discus, it's a big man sport. You know, size does matter. Ladies, size does matter.
So, Odayne, walk us through the technicality of giving a good throw, the shot put.
Okay, so in anything athletic, power and speed is the determinant of a good performance. Now, with the shot, there is a little complication called technique. And technique plays a vital role in helping to transfer the power shot so that it can fly. So an athlete generally has to be very explosive, very technical to throw the shot very far.
And that screaming at the end, does that work any at all?
Well, there is some scientific basis for it. A lot of the times coming up, it was something we saw people doing, and we just did it. You know, there was no real explanation as to why we initially started out that way. But now that I have been in the sport for some time, I have came up with an elaborate excuse for doing it. And it's because there's something called a battle cry. And warriors back in the days used to use it to get the heart rate going and adrenaline pumping. And adrenaline, as you know, can help to boost muscle performance.
So that means then it will be better to do the battle cry before the throw, right?
People do it. So they do a lot of grunting and shouting right before the adrenaline goes up. But at the end of the throw, it is something that is building up during the throw. And it's actually a very loud grunt, so to speak. Guys, it's very strenuous to throw that shot. It's not easy.
How was the transition from a junior to a senior athlete? And tell us about your first major competition. What was that like for you?
Well, I'm assuming you say major competition as the World Championship or Olympic, right?
Well, or your first major competition, or what you consider to be major. The first time you represented Jamaica, what was that like?
I'll do both. So transitioning was pretty easy in terms of the physicalness of the sport. We started off at George's, as I said before, and graduating, I went to UTech, and they had a coach there. He was pleased with the specimen that I am. He said I had a lot of qualities that I could, he could build upon to make a good thrower. I don't know if he was thinking to go world class, but it was my intention to go world class. Now, my first ever national team that I made was while I was a junior. It was only my second year throwing, and I had almost broken the junior record held by Sheriff Small, which at the time I think was 53-23 or something like that. And I think I threw 50. And then I went to Brazil, which they had the Pan American Games. Now, in my mind at the time, throwing 53 was awesome. There was nothing else could compare to it because I've never seen further. And I've never really been exposed to the juniors around the world. We didn't have much of YouTube at the time. And upon going to Pan Am and seeing the start list, the start list lists your season best and your personal best. And I saw guys throwing 68. And then that is when I became utterly hungry to be a part of the elite, the world's elite. It was disgraceful. It's the first time I didn't know how to size my gears. I didn't know what size I was. So, I got gears that was, baggy and ill-fitting. I didn't have like an idea of which shoe I would like. All the little nuances that come along with the sport, I had to learn on in the fire, so to speak. But having seen the guys throw that far, I can't remember his name, Luke Brandt, through I think 66 or 65, I think, to win the meet. I was convinced that, there was more to be done, there's more to be gained, and I became hungry. I did the work, I went to my coach, asked him which at the time was Linval Swaby. Linval Augusta Swaby, let me just put that out there. And he and I had an agreement, I remember the second or first day of training, I went to him and I said, which was probably arrogant of me, I said, just get me strong and I'll take care of the rest. That was to give you an idea as to how, motivated and determined I was.
What was the placing at that first meet?
Oh, I don't even remember. It was closer to the bottom than it was to the
dead last.
No, it's definitely not. Or it probably was. But who knows? Who remembers these things?
Yeah, who does?
I'm sure the records are there to show.
Well, I don't really want to look it up.
All right. Speaking about records, you broke in a national record on more than one occasion. What was it like?
Well, the first time was quite an experience. I didn't know it was coming. I wanted it, but I didn't know at that time it would have been that day. I was training really well. I was throwing pretty all right, pretty decent. I was getting closer. But when I threw it, it felt so easy. It felt so fast. I'd probably say it's probably one of the fastest throws I've had ever. I wasn't as strong as I am now, but I was pretty fast. And it was such a good feeling. I remember, I don't know where I get this start, but I started to walk out of the ring with my hands outstretched to the side. I don't know where I get that, but it was such a good feeling that, it invoked me to do something. And that was it.
And that is a practice that you probably will try to replicate.
Oh, definitely. That's my thing.
You mentioned the physical preparation, but what about the mental preparation for a sport like this?
Well, coming from a team sport, it was pretty, I'd say it's vastly different. You could hide among your teammates when it comes on to these individual events. But in the team sport, sorry, you can hide amongst your teammates in team sports. So if you're playing football, the whole team loses, right? But if you're doing an individual sport, sprinting, jumping, throwing, when you lose, all eyes are on you.
Yeah.
You know, and I had a little difficulty adjusting to that type of environment. I remember my first championship, which was boys and girls championships. I heard the crowd say my name. That was something unusual. And to hear, I don't know if you've been into boys and girls champs, but to hear the crowd chanting, even if it's just a small section, it can be so loud. And not being exposed to this type of, attention, it really can rattle my nerves. So I began the sport a little bit like a nervous wreck. And then I had advice from a lot of sports psychologists. They had some coming into UTech and they gave us the tools we needed to manage the sport. So it took some time as well to develop. It wasn't just a natural click for me. It had a little time, and even now I still get nervous whenever I go to compete, even if it's by myself, because I have so much expectation of myself, that I apply pressure to myself. But learn to manage it, and more times than not, I do well now.
Okay, great.
How important is nutrition and diet, especially in your field?
Well, initially, I thought it was you can eat anything, you can do anything. You're a thrower, you're allowed to get big, you're allowed to get fat. And now, as an older, wiser athlete, I had to, rethink that, because what happens when you start to get too big? What happens when you start to put on too much fat? And I had to start to rethink these type of things. And it's right now, to me, it's very important, or as close important as physical training.
Thank you. In this current atmosphere with the pandemic, how has that affected your training for the Olympic Games?
For one, it's definitely affected earnings. For one, training. Initially, it was a little bit weird because the lockdown forces us to change the time of day that we started to train, and it pushed us a lot longer in the midday to the heat of the sun that we wouldn't want. It's not that we don't do it, but we wouldn't want to be out in the sun that long. So I remember we had a very hot summer last year. So it was a bit taxing on the body. I felt a lot more fatigue in the days. Usually I have to go and have a nap before the second session. And, I had to get up back because there was also a lockdown. You don't want to be on the road in the evening. So that cut down the rest time. So it was tough, but we adjusted. After the first 2 or 3 weeks, getting used to the lockdown, we started to get used to it.
Are you comfortable with where you are now in terms of your preparation?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. I'm always hungry, always want more. I believe that the moment I stop wanting or stop developing that hunger for the sport or hunger to do well, I think I should stop. I'm at I believe I'm not where I should be right now. Hopefully in the next few months, we'll see our performances raise a lot more in training.
What's the plans you have to get there?
Well, obviously the usual stuff. The strength needs to get there. The speed needs to get there. Right now I'm pretty pleased with my technique. So once I get the other two knocked down, I should be pretty okay.
Okay. So do you think Jamaica is doing a good job at putting things in place for sports to resume?
For the sport,
Yeah, for sports
leading
overall.
championship or in general.
In general, sports in general.
All right, well, sports in general, I think right now the government has a dilemma, and by extension, the Ministry of Sports, where they have to consider the ramifications of having or hosting an event in this climate of COVID. And I've seen where they're making strides. I see where they've been scheduling meets. I've seen where they have allowed some of the West Indies players to travel. I've seen where they're in discussion with basketball to maybe host a few meets, a few games, sorry, or get that going. I've seen where even the footballers traveled recently, the Reggae Boys, to play. I think it was Saudi Arabia, was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And to me, to allow that or to facilitate that, that's huge, especially in a time where people aren't so keen on traveling. If the government allowed or put facilities in place for that to happen, kudos to them.
Odayne, you made mention of, you suffering financially as a result of the pandemic. Did you receive any assistance from the Jamaica Olympic Association or Corporate Jamaica?
No. The ministry, in preparation, I believe the plans were in place prior to the pandemic, was to try and assist athletes leading up, or those who they think they qualify leading up to the Olympic Games, which was to be held last year. Unfortunately, that assistance stopped the first month because right after that, the pandemic came. However, I believe that, or I am hopeful, I should say, that they do have plans to resume that and to help cushion the blow.
How are you coping though in this with the lack of competition? How are you coping financially, if you wish to share that?
It's not been good. I've seen a reduction in my salary, obviously, as most people. Currently, we're renegotiating what that would be coming this year, but hopefully we could come to a conclusion and then see where we go from there.
Sponsors are still on board?
That's what we're negotiating right now.
Okay, great. And how do you see your colleagues coping as well?
Well, I can't tell what another situation is at the moment, but everybody seems to be in good spirit. They're focusing on trying to get ready for the Tokyo Olympics. And with that focus, I've not seen a change in their habits, their behaviors. Everybody's trying to be positive about it and try to get the performances where it should be.
That's great to hear. And as you mentioned, the Tokyo Olympics, the IOC presented a framework for how the Olympics, I suppose, will operate yesterday. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think
I haven't got
work?
a chance to review it. Hopefully, when I do, it will be something pleasing. But right now, I haven't really reviewed it.
So if I can give you a summary, they said that they'll test every 4 days. You arrive 5 days before your event and you leave 2 days after.
Well, that sounds, just off the top of my head, that sounds to be a little bit difficult. With just logistics and, training sessions and so forth. I mean, I've seen Australia do a bubble where they try to keep the country itself in our bubble, and also the athletes where they house them in different locations You know, I don't know how that will work for the village, but that sounds to be a tight ship, and it might affect the performances going into the Olympics. Who knows? But we'll have to do what we have to do.
You're somebody who would travel with a team, and this sounds like you may have to leave your team at home. I don't know what the arrangements are normally like as it relates to an athlete traveling.
Well, obviously they would have to make arrangements for the different personnel, coach, we might need. They might put a limit on the number of persons that are going, but I'm sure there would be still physiotherapists and doctors there, medical personnel.
Okay, so is there any discussion going on with the athletes and the authorities as it relates to preparation for the Olympic Games or any other track and field meet right now?
Locally, no. I have no idea about any conversations being had, but I'm sure there are conversations being had by the athlete representative from the IOC. I think they are taking into consideration the well-being of the welfare of the athletes and making it their number one priority. So hopefully they can pull through for us and ensure that we have a smooth Olympics.
You're looking forward to the Olympics?
Oh, sure. My last Olympics set the stage for every Olympics, you know, having seen it on TV, and being there yourself, it's very different, you know. The experience is what counts. That's why it's so prestigious to be an Olympian, you know, to go there and experience the opening ceremonies. And then Tokyo has a reputation of being so great and so creative with their performances, you know. That's one thing I think every athlete should be looking forward to.
What is your goal come Tokyo?
To make the finals, finish in top 5.
Okay.
Not national record, gold medal. Come on, man.
Oh, definitely. I think my event is most other events in track and field right now. There are records being broken every time a bunch of elite shot putters meet together. We just saw the world indoor record being broken by Ryan Krauser, and it's January. Yes. It is January, and he's already throwing way over what the Olympic record is. 5 years ago, 5. 5 years ago, the Olympic record was set at 22.56. The indoor record before Ryan Krauser broke it was 22.66. Ryan threw a whopping 22.80.
Oh.
80 plus.
And you're not fazed by that, are you?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, he has to do it on the day, and he has to do it every time he meets up with any elite shot putter, you know, because any day he doesn't, as we saw in London, he won't win.
Yes.
Trouble.
You know, and he's a phenomenal athlete. I believe he can throw much further than he's throwing right now. I'm sure he's throwing further than he's producing now in training. And it's only a matter of time before he collects the big one, 23 meters.
What sort of distance you're throwing now in training?
That's a top secret information. I can't apologize to you guys. I'll probably have to send somebody to kill you if I told you that information.
Okay, so will this be a last Olympics?
That's a good question. In my mind, I feel like we go one more, but I'll wait and see what my body says, and if I'm able to, and I have the wherewithal to go, why not?
Today, you are the most successful Jamaican shot putter. What type of legacy do you want to leave?
Well, just that innate belief in yourself, you know, to inspire maybe a few more throwers to come on board. And I've always told people that come up and say, you know, I want to be like you. No, be better. Break my records. outdo what I've done before. And to me, I get pretty excited, especially when I see other people throw far. And it's something I see universal when it comes on to my other competitors. However, no matter the fact that we are competitors, we still want to see each other perform well. But at the same time, I want to beat you as well. It's a weird dilemma, a weird space to be in, but we operate in that space just fine.
If you see a young athlete who wants to participate in Shotput, what do you want to say to them now?
Well, I'd say to them, be diligent, believe in yourself. There will be times where you'll be frustrated. That's the whole dynamics of the sport, and work hard.
What next for Odayne?
Well, currently, there are a few meets that are being planned. So the Diamond League schedule hasn't been, I think they have put out a schedule. When they finalize that, I guess we want to go there. But right now, the focus is improving on the top secret distances in training and hopefully, have a big show.
24.
Yes.
Odayne, we want to thank you for participating in this discussion. This has been Sports Down the Middle. We want to hear comments from you in the comment section below. We want to wish Odayne all the best in his preparation and at the Olympics and whatever meet he participates in.
Yeah.
This has been another episode of Sports Down the Middle. Like, subscribe, share, be blessed.